And thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is Happy Hippy Me. I am Wendy.
And I'm Pili Bailey.
Yes. And tonight we are talking about the second part of Abundance Now by Lisa Nichols. So really excited. Last week was really cool. We talked about was it spiritual?
Yeah, we talked about spiritual.
Excellent.
Spiritual abundance, finding spiritual, like really taking a diagnostic of where we feel like we are, as we're moving into the beginning of this year. Where do we feel like we are spiritually? Mm-hmm. And then, tonight we'll be talking about where we feel like we are in our relationships.
Yes, absolutely. Relationships, very important. We all know that no one man is an island, but sometimes it just feels easier to be one man or one woman.
It's true. It's true. And I think about that all the time. I think about why we are created so differently from each other as people and from each other, as men and women, and how there does seem to be some, this chasm sometimes that is insurmountable, but we choose to continue to interrelate. Mm-hmm. And it just really got me thinking this year. I really do. If I really take stock of my relationships, like I feel pretty great about my relationships. But I think this year I want to take them from pretty great to abundant.
I love that.
And I also think, because we're going to look at relationships on many different categories of relationship. And so I think that what's really key for us here is to drill down on, what are the main relationships in our lives, right? Because depending on the season that we're in, it may be different for each one of us. So really recognizing, okay, what season of life am I in? What are the main relationships that are in my life? And then we'll look at, are these life-giving relationships, or are these draining relationships? Are these relationships that when you're done with being with this person, you feel totally recharged, filled up, and abundant? Or is this a relationship that after you're done, you feel like you need to detox or go find some place that you can fill up, recharge? So just really taking stock of where are you right now in your relationships. And so I think it's a fun way for us to continue to look into our new year and what it is that we're wanting to create.
Right.
One thing that I do recommend is, if you're following along with us on this journey, that you get a pen and a paper out, and that, yes, have your notebook there so that you can jot down any ideas, impressions, thoughts. Tonight particularly, I want you to write down people's names as they come to mind. So as we're looking and taking stock of the relationships in our lives, there's going to be some relationships that are just going to jump out at us. Mm-hmm. Then there's going to be other relationships that are going to feel a little bit more, maybe we won't realize how important they really are in our lives until we kind of take stock of, okay, I only have so many hours in the day. How much of this time is being spent with the people that I do value? And how much of this time is being spent with people that you kind of just feel like you have to be with, but not necessarily value added people. So it'll be interesting to see how people feel.
I don't know. I mean, because this is really fun for me, because I'm going through this for the first time, and the relationship with self. I'm just really curious to see what happens, because I think as we start learning more about ourselves, we learn what we actually need. And some people actually need more of an introverted experience at times to recharge, whereas other people need an extroverted experience to charge, or to recharge. And so that could also have a dynamic in how we put the time in. So, all right, I'm ready.
You're ready.
We ready.
All right. Great. So, all right. So we're going to look at the quality of your relationships. And so I want to start us off the way we started off last week with just a few centering breaths and allowing yourself just to arrive in this space. So if you're watching on video, this is going to be quite crazy here, but I'm asking that you silence or turn off your phone. Unless you're watching this on your phone, in which case
Right.
turn off your phone. But maybe
Airplane mode.
you can put it in airplane mode. Maybe you can turn off notifications so that you're not going to be distracted. And get your pen and your paper. Maybe you have your tea or whatever it is that you would enjoy drinking with your right now. And then let's go ahead and close our eyes. And just begin to take a few cleansing breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. And as you breathe here, I'm going to invite you to imagine in your mind a big celebration. You've just walked into or walked up to a big celebration. And I want you just to look around the room. What do you notice in the room? Are you inside or are you outside? Are you at a barbecue or are you at a nice restaurant? Are you at the beach? Are you at a picnic? Imagine whatever that is for you, that place that fills you with joy. And now imagine that as you walk in and you look around, you start to see familiar faces. You see the faces of the people that you love, the people who know you, the people you grew up with, the people you've worked with. And one by one, each of these people comes up to you, smiles on their faces, excited to see you. They give you a big hug. And as they hug you, they whisper something in your ear. A message to you of how much you mean to them, how proud they are of you. When that person's done, they squeeze your shoulder and walk away. And then up comes the next person in your life who's here in this room, in this party to celebrate your life. Every person in this room, you start to realize, is here just for you, is here to celebrate and to mirror to you your impact in this world. Start to allow the messages from each one of these people to fill you up. Imagine how you feel hearing these words of encouragement and inspiration, these words of love and adoration coming from the people that mean the most to you in your life. And after every person is done giving you words of love, gestures of affirmation and encouragement, you sit down and you feel in your heart and radiating all throughout the rest of your body this vibrant energy of love and appreciation from all the people in your life. Hold on to that feeling. And with the messages from your loved ones still ringing in your ears, begin to bring your focus back to this present moment. Becoming aware of the sensations that you're feeling in your body. And slowly blink the eyes open. Okay. How do you feel?
Great. It was wonderful.
Awesome. What came up for you? Did you see any faces in your personal party?
Yes, my birthday's coming up. So automatically I was at my parents' house, the house I grew up in. And it was just all these peoples. And when you really said to start thinking about the place, I was like, oh, how funny. This is like where my life began. And this is my happy place. So it was really nice. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's
What
so
about for you?
Well, I think it's a little bit harder for me because since I was guiding the meditation, it's harder for me to get into that space. But definitely, I think my place is somewhere outside. So that's why I was like either the beach or you're at a picnic or, just being outside is like a happy space for me.
Right.
And yeah, like I said, I wasn't really able to go into that mode because I was facilitating the mode. But when I think about the faces that come to me, I see my husband, I see my son, I see, my parents and my siblings. And of course I see my cousin. And then I made some really great friends that, I've met through making friends with the parents that my child has made friends with. And we've been very fortunate so far that we've found some pretty cool people to do life with in this season that we're in.
Nice.
But I also think about the people who, when I was in my single days and I was living in DC, and the people that, I spent the majority of my time and my life with while I was out there. Like those are some very, very precious memories and people in my life. And so, of course, they are always there, and I always think of them. And of course, we're still in contact, thankfully, through social media and Facebook and things like that. But yeah, just recognizing and appreciating the people that have come along my path that are even not still in my path, but really even allowing that to be a place of gratitude and blessing, and just recognizing that, wow, they came into my life for that season, or for, one of my friends says, a season, reason, or lifetime, right? So people come into your life for any one of those three things, and you never know what they're going to be.
You don't. You really don't.
So, all right. So we're going to jump in, and I hope that if you're watching here with us, that you will write down on your paper some of the names of the people that you saw during this meditation. And the reason I want you to have those names written down is because when we go through the ranking, we're really only going to be ranking in general, but if you have some names or you have some faces of people, maybe it will make the ranking more, I don't know, just you'll be able to envision a person and then be able to rank based on that. So it'll be less abstract. There we go. Sorry, guys. Okay. So the ranking is going to be on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the most meaningful. You don't, 1 meaning you don't ever feel safe or with sharing your truth or your heart with this person. So 1 would be bad, right? You live in a guarded space with that person. And then 5 would be a rating where you feel like you can talk openly, but only sometimes, and things get rocky, but eventually you're able to move forward. So, there's a little bit of distance sometimes that needs to happen in order for that resolution to come through. So it's a little bit more of a rocky relationship. And then 9 or 10s, these are your life-giving friendships. These are the ones where you know that this is the person you need to call when you're, really needing a listening ear, when you're really needing someone that's going to just understand you, or maybe even someone that's going to call you on your stuff and really make sure that you are living up to your absolute best. And so sometimes we need those people in our lives, right? And people that are going to be in love and kindness. So I hate it when people use that, tell the truth in love, and they use that to like cover over, really just slaying somebody, just cutting them up with their words.
Right.
So I try not to say that, tell the truth in love, but there is a way that you can caringly, compassionately, lovingly set your boundaries, set your intentions for your relationships, and really make sure that you're holding the people in your space that to those
different standards, boundaries,
those standards that you've set. Good. All right. So, Wendi, is there anything that's coming up for you while we're here? Anything that you want to share on the relationship tip before we get into the scale?
Funny enough, there were a lot of people, when you said aren't in your life anymore, some of the first people I saw were my oldest brother who passed, my grandmother, my grandfather. I saw exes and some people who I wasn't even really that close to. And I don't know, when I say close to, people who, their reason and season have kind of expired. They're still around in my periphery, but they're not anybody who I really have as a confidant. But maybe because we said the word celebration, there's a certain cast in my world of people who come around when there's a celebration. So those are the people I saw. But everybody was very life-giving and positive. And so even the people who I'm not as physically close to, or I talk to every day, it was still a very positive experience. So that was really interesting.
That's cool. Yeah. And so like, even in this exercise, you start to think about aspects of your relationships with people that maybe you don't even think, it wouldn't even come up if we didn't spend this time right here to really address it and to really take stock of it.
Literally, because sometimes what you last remember in your head of a relationship can like color the entire relationship, and it's the vision of one person. It's not necessarily what the other person sees or anything, reality. It may not be reality, but you're preoccupied with that thing. So it's cool. This was a very interesting exercise.
All right. So reminding you of the scale. If you want to do this in kind of like a chart type of way. Oh my goodness. Well, she's going to get a chart.
I know.
The chemist in me is getting excited.
The chemist in you.
Right, so the first column will have names. So these will be names of the people, of the faces that you saw. Then on each line with those names, you can write a number from 1 to 10. Okay, reminding you that a 10 is they feed my soul. When I'm with them, I'm excited, joyful, I feel space, and I'm open. When you're in that 5 category, things are getting a bit rocky, but we usually work them out. Okay. When you're in that 1 category, it's turbulent and I rarely feel safe sharing my heart. Now, obviously, as we're sharing, we're not actually going to share people's names or anything like that because we want to create a safe space for ourselves as well, right?
This is recorded. No,
this is recorded. We have family that will watch this, or friends, or anybody,
right?
Like, not just family, but yeah, anyone. And so we want to make sure. Sorry, I just had to wipe my screen. I had some lint on my face.
Oh.
Anyway, so
you're so funny.
All right. So let's go ahead and do this. And I just want to give those of you who are watching this video, I really want to encourage you to take this time to do this exercise with us. So let's go ahead, write down your names. How many names do you have?
So I saw so many people. I had to kind of group them. So I have some.
Okay. You have some groupings. So okay, that's cool.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay. So let's give it about 2 minutes. Let's do like a 2-minute, just kind of sit there and think about it. And then we'll just share how this exercise felt for you.
Okay.
When we're done. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. I wish I had thought of this. I would have had some music play.
Oh, no, in post,
Yeah.
in post, we could do a
Some
couple
post,
things.
right.
Since I grouped, I'm actually a little bit further along. So, and I've added a couple of people that I saw in my visualization that I didn't initially write down.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I actually had 11 people and or groups. A lot of groups in there. Yep.
Cool. So, and then when you're looking at, so, okay, let's just give an overall. So would you say that the majority of your relationships are in the 1 to 5 category or the 6 to 10 category?
Most of them are in the 6 to 10.
Okay, cool. How many would you say are in the 7 to 10 category?
There are about 4.
Okay. How many would you say are rocket boosters? They're people who are, they are the wind beneath your wings. They are the gasoline for your mobile. They're the jet fuel for your rocket.
I have 2 people that come to mind who really, really charge me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And so, and then how many friends do you have in the, 5 or lower category?
Really? That came to mind, only 1.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then, are they 5s? Are they 4s, 3, 2s, 1s? You can just say a number.
More of like a 3. I mean,
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here's the thing. So we're doing this quiz. This is a quiz that's based on the book that I've read called Abundance Now. And so the idea of this is not for us to take this chart and then go through and say, I'm Xing everybody who's a 5 or lower. Just, we're done with you. Get out of here, right? Instead, this is actually a beautiful thing, a beautiful opportunity for us to take stock of the relationships in our lives, for us to really own the role that we play in the dynamics that are being perpetuated. And then also we get to make decisions based on what is best in our interest and what is best in their interest. Now, if we were talking to a person who had lots of 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s in their lives, then that might be a different story, right? Because the more of the abundant suckers that you have in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
You really need like double or triple the number of abundance givers, right?
I see.
So that you're, like what are those fish called? They're called remoras. So if you, I watch a lot of nature shows, and
wait,
they're called remoras. My son was really into aquatic animals, so like whales, for a long time. And there was this one documentary about, they're these, what were they called? Spinner dolphins. And they're called spinner dolphins because they swim in big pods, and all they do is they do contests jumping around and seeing how many flips they can do above the water before they come down.
Oh, yes,
okay?
yes.
It's like, this is their thing. But when they come up, so like, scientists are speculating on, why do they do this? Is it just dolphins love to play and they have brains that are like bigger than ours? And so they know that playing is really important for the creativity and also for our learning capabilities. So I don't know, maybe that's why they do it.
Right.
Or they could be doing it because they have these remora fish that basically catch a ride through the ocean. The fish don't want to, use up their own energy. So they just latch themselves. They have this big like sucker mouth and these like, teeth, and they just latch themselves to whatever aquatic mammal is, going through the water. And they're very hard to dislodge. And so scientists are saying, well, maybe, the jumping and then splatting on the water knocks the remoras off. So that could be another functional reason for what the dolphins are doing. So anyway, all that to say that sometimes we have these remora friends, right? We have these friends who latch on to us for whatever reason. Sometimes they latch on to us because what we're putting out is something very healing and life-giving to them. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that, I am definitely a different friend now than I was when I was in my teens and 20s, right? Obviously, my brain is more developed, all these things. But in terms of
scientists,
it's true. But in terms of, the relationships that I had, I definitely didn't really know how to value people. And then I spent 9 years in Virginia, and I was loved on by people who really knew how to love people, how to stand with them, even when they, or, had really messed up thinking or messed up actions to other people, and still to see that there was goodness in me. And there was enough goodness in me that they kept showing up, and they kept being good, and they kept showing me how true friendship looks, to the point where I began to trust, to the point where I began to emulate, to the point where I began to then adopt a new way of relating to people, to the point where now I'm in the space where I can be that love, that, stable presence in someone else's life who maybe did not have that kind of love. And I can look at that and say that it was because people loved me when I was not lovely, that I can love and today.
Right.
And so there's so much power in the relationships that we have, and in our ability to stand in the midst of relationships that are a little bit more hard, right?
Right.
That is also, disclaimer, if you're in an abusive relationship, if somebody is, not treating you with dignity or respect or things like that, those relationships, get out.
Right.
Get out. Like, get out. And let that person seek their help, and seek your healing. Like, so hear me say that. I'm not saying stick it out with somebody who's hurting you.
No.
Physically or mentally.
Right.
But who are those people in our lives that maybe we've seen them change over time?
Right.
And so, it's really giving people the kind of compassion that we want for ourselves, right? So I screwed up. Okay. I had a friend, I screwed up. And like, when I make apologies, I don't really like to give excuses for my behavior. So it's hard for me to tell this story because I don't want to give excuse for my behavior. That's a pet peeve. Hate that. But anywho, so I screwed up. Like, a friend invited me somewhere, and I didn't have the courage to just be honest and say, I can't go. I don't want to go. I'm, whatever. I didn't have the courage to say that. And so I meandered and didn't really say what was really going on. And that person kind of held me to the wall until it was very clear that I was keeping something, holding something back. And that person cut me out of their life. Like, that was the straw that broke the camel for them. And that's okay, and I think about it often because I feel so bad that I didn't show myself in my best light. You know what I'm saying?
Was it because you didn't just say you didn't want to do whatever this thing was, or that was it? It wasn't because
I didn't say no, but I didn't say yes, and I kind of did like we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm not sure I got that invitation, but maybe I did. And it was just bullshit, like I should have just womaned up, and said, hey, I'm not feeling so great right now, and emotionally, and I don't really want to be around a bunch of people. And if I didn't want to say that, then maybe I could have said, thing that was not hemming and hawing, and
being on the fence, like going like it's not right.
Well, I don't want to say that I lied, but maybe I did. I don't know, like lying by omission, lying by not, you know what I'm saying? Like, was it honest? No.
Well, it
So
wasn't. Right.
one of the tenets of, I would say a lot of religions, but like
Right.
one of the tenets of spirituality, you know, coming out of yoga is asteya, which means to speak truth, right? To live in a truthful place, to always be bringing out truth. So, did I live that out? No, I didn't. And do I feel remorse for that? Yes, I do. And, but I'm grateful for that opportunity because it's taught me that lying is never a good policy. Being more honest and open with people is the best. And, you know, this was a relationship that was just beginning. So it wasn't like I had a lot of capital in the bank where she could be like, oh, you know, she did this one thing, but you know, she's pretty cool otherwise. But it was like more of a new friendship. You're supposed to be on your best behavior. And I
mean, so, you know, but so this is one of those things where one of the things I've noticed about being an adult and having real lasting relationships with people is when you have a family and a baby and a husband and business and just when life starts happening, you, and somewhere in your mind, you're still remembering what it was like to be at school and have like this set amount of hours with people to learn and socialize and all that stuff. And then you went home and you did all like the work stuff because parents were, you know, kicking in all the hard work with, you know, paying bills and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I know people use that word adulting. And what I realize is that having true relationship with people in today's age, at least in LA, you know, we both live in Los Angeles. So, you know, it's expensive to live out here. People work like 8 hours a day. They drive an hour each way. So that's another 2 hours. So most times, most of my friends I catch up with over the phone. And then I have to, you know, get home, make dinner, do a couple of chores, and then be ready to do it all over again the next day.
Right.
Now, Saturday and Sunday are reserved for getting, you know, stuff together
to get done.
You know, so.
And then and especially when you have a family or if you work on the weekends, you know, you have those things and yeah, it's rough. And I think about it now, you know, I have lots of friends that I would love to see more regularly. And I actually would love to be doing life with these friends. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I have these like visions of we all live on the same street, you know, or we live in the same neighborhoods and like we're having Monday night dinner at Wendy's and Tuesday night dinner at Cindy's and
exactly.
Friday night dinners at Pili's and, you know, just kind of having that, and you know, I do love that feeling of community and of kind of doing this with your tribe, you know, and I think that more and more people are starting to realize that that is what is the most valuable, right? And that's something that I really look to you as like, wow, like I see the way it is a routine and it is a, you and your family, you get together a lot, you know, and it's, you guys are in each other's lives. It's not just this, you know, we see you on Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving. It's like, we see you on Monday, we see you on Thursday, we see you on Wednesday, we see you, you know what I mean? We talk all the time. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing that not everybody has. And so that's the other thing. Like, I know that when we talk about relationships, we're also talking about something that is so dynamic and something that is so complex and something that we can't necessarily trivialize or reduce to, you know, a 10-point questionnaire, right? Like, they are really something that's so special and dynamic. They change moment to moment, you know. So if I were to take this quiz last year, 6 months ago, if I were to take this quiz 6 months ago, the numbers that I have on some of the people that are closest to me would be completely different from what they are today. And so what has changed? What has
Right.
changed? And,
Well, I
and I
mean,
would
I
say
think,
that really what's changed is me.
huh, right, exactly. Well, see, the only thing we can change, person we can change is ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And, back to your story about your friend who decided that, what, I'm not even going to be bothered with this. I don't think she's being honest with me. I know people who are like that in their lives because it's a part of them gaining some type of a basis for their lives, because they really are seeking a certain straightforward yes or no relationship with people, and they don't want to waste their time on people who they don't feel have the time to put into them. And I think that's brilliant. I think at the end of the day, if people are always honest with who they are in that moment, it'll help us kind of like delete certain things that just aren't working and pushing that square peg into a round hole, that whole business.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of it though too is realizing that sometimes people are looking for the offense. We don't always know what people are dealing with on their end. So sometimes I've found that when people feel rejected from you saying, because sometimes just saying no still gives you this radical kind of reaction that is unfavorable, and you were honest. And, sorry, I couldn't get together today, or I had this, and they think it's an excuse and a way to feel rejected. But some
Mm-hmm.
people have a narrative in their mind that says, I'm going to be abandoned, I'm going to be rejected. And
And then
so,
they're looking for evidence of it. And when there's like even a glimpse of it in that interaction, then they're like, see, I told you, we're out of here. Yeah.
right. So, I mean, the most important thing, like you said, when it comes to how we can manage our own expectations and selves, is not to take things personally, to realize everybody has a context. I'm totally using that word from Michelle Obama's book.
Mm-hmm.
We're all dealing with things that we don't know other people are going through. And we're oftentimes judging what they're doing based on our day and
Yeah.
our life and
Yeah.
what we have to do. And if we can do it, then they can clearly do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll lose every time on that one. We will, to one extent or another.
Yeah.
So that compassion, making compassion visible and treating others the way you want to be treated. First, you gotta know how to treat yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can really give that to other people.
Yeah. And I think, one of the questions that I didn't ask, and, I'm going to ask you, like, did you include yourself as one of those relationships?
I didn't directly, but everything was so positive that was being said. And I've been in those situations for parties or things where I walk in and everybody's so excited to see me. And it feels like I'm unworthy of all of this praise and attention. I feel uncomfortable.
Like you want to go hide, right? Under a
Like
shell.
like I like to just blend in. I like to just blend in. I tell, after 35, hormones change and you get all this curvage going on. And, I used to be able just to blend in, and now I'm kind of like sticking out, and people really notice me. But I have learned and continue to learn how to accept that and give it to myself, like pat my own self on the back. So in this visualization, even though I myself didn't say, yeah, Wendi, I actually received it and I was like grateful. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's a little word that comes to
Mm-hmm.
mind.
I think it's
That's
so
it.
hard too sometimes just to be um to receive those compliments. And I think you're right. It is because we have that background, that I want to call it the white noise, right? And that white noise that's always in the background sometimes will drown out the positive words that people are giving us. And we
Mhm.
really want to find um, that space in ourselves to be able to receive those words because they're needed, right? And
Mhm.
to be able to actually find a home for them on the shelf so that we can pick them out and look at them and remember those things about ourselves. But
Right.
one of the things that I said in the meditation was that the people in our lives, the relationships that we have, they are a mirror for us to see the impact that we're having on the world. If you're willing to really recognize it, right?
Right.
Because I think sometimes we live in a narcissistic society now where it's so easy just to be concerned with how do I look and what am I thinking of, and what are my opinions and what are my ideas, and what's my new hashtag and all those things, and like it's fun, I get it, we're all addicted, so at some point we'll probably have to go to some kind of like anonymous, like
selfie
social
101
media
or
anonymous or something,
Yes.
But the people in our lives are super important. And I think that's something that I have been purposing in my life, to see people not as players in my one woman show, but to see people as, they are the leading men and women in their own story. Right. Mm-hmm. And our stories intersect. It's like when, I want to say when Flash and the Green Arrow had a show crossover.
Are these superheroes?
Those are for the CW watchers that, and know that I only know these things because of my husband. But yeah, so it's like when they have a crossover, right? So the Flash has his own show and the Green Arrow has his own show. And sometimes, they have to go fight crime together. And so they might have a crossover show where one of them is on the other show and then the other one's on, so that's how it is in our relationships, right? Like if you just look at it from our perspective, it's my show. And then if you look at it from your perspective, it's your show. But together we have a cross show and we're important to each other.
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm over here milking a little like stomach cramp. That was crazy. No. It was literally like a Charlie horse that you sometimes get in the middle of the night in my stomach. But that's just, I got muscles. But anyway, so long story short, I totally agree with you. I am Wendi with an I, which is like the platform that I'm launching with my website and all that stuff. It's a self-love movement because the visible compassion for self means visible compassion for everyone else, or the love for self means love for everyone else. YN, my sister, who's an MSW, an entertainer, edutainer, always says you can't paint with the color that you don't have inside of you. So if at the deep-rooted part of you, there's some type of self-hatred, you're not going to be able to fully give to anybody else. And we already know that, but I mean, it plays itself out in so many different ways. And I can look over my life and see where not being able to get out of my own story, not being able to really give to the people around me, like where that came from. And it came from some type of anger, maybe pointed at self, because I was not giving myself the love and the commitment and the time to nurture myself. I mean, it sounds crazy, but if anything, in a very healthy way, the selfie movement and loving the self and knowing that you're dope, it can't stop at that point. It has to extend to the you and then the we. It has to go I, you, and then we, this collective story that we have together, and how me surviving and thriving can't totally happen without you surviving and thriving. Like it has to go that way. Self-love is only part of that equation. And a lot of times in our societies, what we learn is how to be a servant, love others, and really love others through being, there you go, I'm the A student, I'm doing what I've been told, I'm people pleasing, I'm fitting in, mom's happy, my teacher's happy, so whoever's happy, right? And we feel love and we feel like we belong. But then all of a sudden we look and we're like, this isn't really fitting. What's wrong? What am I doing wrong? Like, I mean, it's this crazy little circle. And but then once you come out of it, it always comes back to that first little atom. Now here's my science knowledge. Atom. That kernel, of, do I love myself? How often do I look at myself and go, oh, I see that little I don't know. Oh, I can't wear that outfit anymore. Just something like that, and it's
right. Where it's critical. Like, it's so critical and it's so mean. And it's like, you would never say that to anyone that you wanted to continue to be friends with.
You wouldn't.
And yet we often will let those words rest in us, oh, you're so stupid. Oh, I can't believe you did that. Da, 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 da. I was listening to, I believe it was a Louise Hay book, and she was talking about, doing a presentation. She went and she gave a presentation at, a big meeting or whatever. And it was the first time she had done something like this for so many people. And, when she was done, she got in her car and she just looked at herself in her mirror and she said, that was awesome. You did such a great job. I am so proud of you. Like, you conquered that fear. It was amazing what you did. And like, just gave herself praise and accolades and affirmation. Now, she did that knowing that it would be very easy for her to pick her performance apart, to, say, oh, I forgot this, or I didn't do this, or I should have changed that, or whatever. But if she started off with all the things that she didn't do right, how much motivation and energy do you think she would have to drum up to ever try and do it again?
There you
But
go.
she knew that because this was her first time, this was, her stepping out of the gate, facing a fear, doing like, it was important to celebrate the micro wins. So those are the things that the micro wins is a term that I got from the Abundance Now book from Lisa Nichols. But, we need to take stock of our micro wins. So in the context of relationships, when you have, I'm married, so that is my primary relationship. That's the relationship where I can really very clearly see when we're doing good and when we're not doing good. And what's so easy when you're married with young kids and you're working to do is to put your relationship on autopilot, especially when the kid is, a baby. Right? You're just focused on keeping this child alive and keeping your job and paying your bills. You know what I mean? Like, it's very much just get it done. And there's not a whole lot of time for, well, did I say this correctly? Or how are they going to feel if I say it this way? And, but I realized that efficiency, and I am a very direct person. I am I just want to say the words.
But you're a scientist.
Right. Like the shortest way between 2 points is a straight line. I'm not trying to go up here and go down there, to tell you that I want you to take the trash out. Like, all I'm going to say is, did you take the trash out? Did you take the trash out? And maybe.
See, I'm not as direct. Like, I get nervous about being direct. So I say everything in a short little anecdotal story. Like, babe, I'm about to go in and take a shower, and it would be nice if maybe some of these things were picked up. And like, when I suggest those things, that's how maybe I would want to be spoken to, because I can read between the lines, like, oh, bam, okay, cool, no problem. And it was said in a nice way. I come out of the shower after working all day, and babe is still sitting there watching whatever on TV. The trash is still over there, and the food that I just cooked is all over the place, not put up. And now I'm mad, So there's a balance, though, between that flowery kind of like suggestion.
Yeah. Right? You can't suggest. You have to be like, hey, this is what I need. But you also have to figure out how to say it in a way that they'll hear you. Oh my God. Like, you need a PhD or, to be in relationships with people. It's crazy. And then don't let those people have been raised by somebody who traumatized them or hurt them or, damage them in some way that they have these personality glitches. I I remember when I first realized, I'm like, I think we all have that brokenness in us.
We do.
Some of us hide it better than others. Some of us have found ways to cope and to kind of not let it just not air it out to the world. But, then there's some that where the,
some of that is, yeah.
And things are bullying all over the place. I'm thinking of that DL Hughley post he did on Instagram where he's like, can we leave nude tights in 2018?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Right. Oh my God. That's so funny. I think I may have been talking over you. I'm sorry. Because this thing is glitching just a little bit, maybe from the rain. LA is getting rain, y'all. Woo!
It's crazy for like days. Like I feel like somebody needs to go build an ark.
I live in the hood, and there's literally lakes like along all of the streets. It's absolutely insane, but it's good because drought no more.
We need that water. We need that water. All right. So just like as we're wrapping up here, I would love for you and I to just kind of think about one of those relationships. It can be a relationship that's already in the, 6 and above category, or it can be one of the, 5 or below. And really even just put a circle around that person's name. And then start to think about what would that relationship look like, be like, feel like if it was more moving towards the abundance scale. Because really, we're not trying to take a snapshot of where we are and expect that we're always going to stay there, but we really want to take a snapshot of where we are so that we can know very clearly where it is that we're starting from to get to where it is that we want to go. So both of those two places have to be clear. So we've now just taken stock of where we feel those relationships are in this moment. So now the next step is to really start to get very clear on what that relationship can be, what that relationship needs to be. And again, I'm not saying let's change other people, but it could be where we have to shift, where when he says zig, I zag, you know what I mean? Like we basically have to shift ourselves sometimes in the relationship. If it's, if it's a relationship worth having.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's certain relationships, they're always worth having because they're family and love covers, and certain people, your mom will always be your mom, your dad will always be your dad. And so in extreme cases, I can understand writing those situations off. But most times that's not the case with almost anybody. That's one of the things I've noticed, like you said, the relationship cycle. And they go through their different seasons. But if you have somebody who has the building blocks of someone who's really there for you, I think it's worth working and seeing where you can get better or, become better, So yeah. I have a person.
Good. So, I got to a place in one of my relationships where it was like, it was a come to Jesus moment, right? It's like, okay, I have a choice here. I can either write this relationship off or I can start to dream about the relationship that I want to have. And I can start writing that down. I can start putting energy towards that. I can start looking for evidence of the good in that relationship and starting to store up those moments of, you know, maybe this person let me down in this way, but this person held me up in these 5 ways. So can I hold on to those 5 ways and either let go of that one way or come up with a way that I can express that one way in a way that that person can hear me? And so really what it is that we have to skill up in our ability to communicate with the people in our lives, right?
Yes.
So that is something that we each can all do and figure out, okay, I have a person who really loves words of affirmation, you know, if we're talking about the 5 love languages, or
Right.
I have a person that really loves gifts or really loves acts of service, or, you know, whatever that is, really appreciates human touch. And so, you know, if I'm the kind of person that really wants gifts of, you know, acts of service, and this person really needs human touch, well, how can we work that out?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And really, so like I said, it became me becoming more flexible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I recommend that we all just take stock over this next week or however long it is for you after you listen to this video. Pick one relationship. So we don't want to try and change everything in the day, right?
Right.
Pick one relationship that you really want to focus on bringing into a more abundant space.
Right.
And, you know, maybe write it down, maybe share it with somebody who could help you, you know, to just encourage you in that.
Right.
Or, you know, do it with yourself, or maybe you might want to, you know, message Wendi or I and just let us know which relationship you're going to be working in,
Yeah.
so that we can be putting our positive energy towards that for you as well.
Right.
And yeah, so we hope that this has been a helpful exercise for you as we're taking stock again of the 4 key areas in our lives of abundance. And we would really love to hear from you guys if you're going through this with us and what you're learning, and if there's more depth that you'd like us to go into on these conversations. We would be very happy to hear from you and get your feedback. So please remember to comment and definitely subscribe so that you know when we have new videos coming out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pili, for leading this series. It's amazing. I'm learning a lot. I know everybody else is too. Make sure to subscribe. Catch us on Instagram at Happy Hippy Me. Thank you so much. Until next time. Good night.
Good night.